not putting up with this anymore.
Putting up with what? I can't talk to people.
I am out of here.
Hey, today we're going to talk about a subject that is kind of different. It's from the book, Two Are Better Than One. Don't do this thing called life alone. And it's a dialogue that Grandma is having with Abby. Abby finds out, or she believes, that Michael is doing something that is counterproductive to her family, that is harmful. And prior to this, Abby had a sort of a meeting, we'll say, with one of her friends, and her friend just gave her a bunch of advice. And so Abby calls Grandma and goes to Grandma and tells her a lot of things about Michael. And Grandma tells her the fallacy about assuming. When people assume, they do more than harm somebody. There's an old saying that says when you assume, you make a, and then fill in the blank. That's the way this statement goes. But it goes more than that. When you assume about somebody without finding out the facts, you actually do a disservice to them and to you, and it proves usually very harmful. It hurts the other person. It sometimes will even hurt you, and it might even hurt many other folks. I remember when I was in grade school. I forget how old exactly I was, but we'll say it was 5th or 6th grade. I don't remember exactly. And I was deemed being lazy because I couldn't, or wouldn't, or however you want to put it, learn my colors. And here finally, though, I had a male teacher, and he did some testing on me, and this was quite a few years ago. It was back in the 60s, before it was prevalent to do what folks do now for boys and girls concerning color. But he did a test on me and determined that I was partially colorblind. And because of it, other teachers that weren't aware of this, they deemed me actually lazy because I wasn't, or didn't want to learn my colors and didn't do what others did and color inside the box and all that. In fact, I was denied a chance to get into a small art class, and so I always used to think, well, I guess only art could get in there, you know, Arthur, so it's short. So when you assume things, you actually can hurt somebody else. So Grandma goes on to say that not only can you hurt them, but you fail to look at from different perspectives. You look at the situation from only your perspective. And quite often there is always 3 sides to every story. I know the statement goes there's 2 sides to the story, but my thought is there's 3 sides to every story. It's his side, her side, and the truth, because everybody is going to taint it in their direction. So whether it be 2 guys arguing, 2 ladies arguing, or whomever, there's always 3 sides to every story. At least that's my thought on it. And so again, if I'm telling you a story, I'm going to taint it in my perspective. And if I'm having a discussion with you, you're going to taint it in your perspective. And then so there is actually the ultimate is the truth. And so again, Grandma goes through and she talks about there's 3 sides to every story. And that often when somebody is hurt, they're broke, and they say things that are actually mean. So often we'll hear people talk about, you know, they'll say something, they'll hear something that somebody else said, and then they start to criticize, or somebody will criticize them. And it can be actually harmful to their life, to their career, to their families, whenever people assume things. So I really wanted to challenge you on this point today is don't just assume. So if you haven't read the book, Two Are Better Than One, Don't Do This Thing Called Life Alone, I really challenge you to read it. It's more than just a fiction book. It's a book of items that I learned from my entire life. It's things that I wish that somebody told me when I was much younger. You know, so this is a book about me at 62 telling my 30-something-year-old self, if I could, which I can't, if I could go back in time and tell myself these things, this is what I would do. So if you've not read it, I really challenge you to pick the book up and read it. It's more than a fiction book. It's a book about life. It's a book about relationships. It's a book about generations helping each other. So I hope you got something from this. Take the time to stop and think of your words. Do your words hurt, criticize, or condemn others? If they do, just stop and think, because really, too often we hurt others without even trying. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.